Hi, and welcome back to this week's Parsha Shir in Sefer Gedalyahu. This week we'll be studying a little piece of Parshas Emor. The Gedalyahu actually says that Parshas Emor in many ways is a continuation of the Parsha we read last week, which is Parshas Kedoshim. Parshas Kedoshim opens with the very lofty notion and the very lofty command of Kedoshim to you, Ki Kadosh Ani Hashem Elokechem. The idea that we are supposed to emulate HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is the epitome of holiness, and become a holy people ourselves as individuals and as a nation. And many mitzvahs are laid out in Parshas Kedoshim, which help us to achieve that high level of Kedusha. In fact, the Torah in its entirety is a means of achieving that level of Kedusha. But what the Gedalyahu says is that Parshas Emor is actually an extension of Kedoshim in the sense that it explains to us using various categories and examples of how exactly that Kedusha is achieved and how exactly that Kedusha of Hashem is manifest in the world. And it actually, the Gedalyahu's piece here helps not only to explain Kedusha, the concept of Kedusha, but also helps to explain the series of stories or events or mitzvos that are contained in Parshas Emor, which seemingly are not linked together in such a tight fashion. One could wonder why they even exist together in a parsha. But after you understand this piece in Gedalyahu, I think you'll also come to understand Parshas Emor better. The Gedalyahu says that the three categories, the three divisions of Parshas Emor, run along the lines of the Kabbalistic concept Olam, Shana, V'Nefesh. Olam, Shana, V'Nefesh is an idea brought down in the Sefer Yetzirah and other Sfarim. It's a Kabbalistic concept that was later popularized, as many Kabbalistic concepts were, by Hasidus, by the many Hasidic writings. If you look in the Sivas Shalom, you look in the Sfas Emes, you look in many Hasidic books, especially on the Parsha, you'll see the concept Olam, Shana, V'Nefesh appear all the time. It's a way of understanding the world, and really what it is a way of explaining how the chiyus, the life force of the world comes to be infused into the world, or really how the kedusha, how the holiness and spirituality of HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to be in a world of physicality. And really the way it comes to be is through three avenues, known as Olam, Shana, V'Nefesh, world, year, and soul. World, year, and soul don't literally mean world, year, and soul. They are categories. Categories of what? Well, Olam is synonymous with place. Shana is synonymous with time. Nefesh is synonymous with people. So if you were to capture this concept, Olam, Shana, V'Nefesh, in a clear and concise way, you would say basically that the way Kedusha comes to bear upon the world, the way it is infused into the world, is in the realm of space, time, and human beings. Actually, there's a cute way that Sefer Yetzirah, I think, I'm not sure what the original source is for it, connects the idea of Olam, Shana, V'Nefesh all the way back to the most holy experience, which was that of Har Sinai. It says in describing the scene of Har Sinai, the Torah tells us Har Sinai Ashan Kulo, that Har Sinai was full of Ashan, which means smoke or fog or a cloud of some sort, because of the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Kabbalists say that when the Torah tells us it was Ashan Kulo, Ayin, Shin, Nun, really what it stands for is it was filled with Kedusha because of the Ayin, Shin, and Nun, the Olam, the Shana, and the Nefesh. It was filled with Kedusha because of time, place, and people. It was the nexus of all three, and therefore the most intense experience of Kedusha. So the Gedalyahu says these are the three divisions of Parshas Emor. B'tchilas haParsha, Medaber b'Kedushas hanefesh. The beginning of the Parsha speaks about the Kedusha of human beings. Of course, the beginning of the Parsha is the story and the mitzvahs having to do with Tumas Kohanim, with Kedushas Kohanim, with the holiness of the Kohanim, with who they're allowed to be matameh for, their whole framework of their ability or lack of ability to come in contact with dead people, dead bodies, and who their exceptions are for their close relatives that they're able to be matameh themselves for. In addition to that, it also speaks just generally about the who they can and can't marry, and of course the levels of Kedusha even within the Kohanim, the Kohen Gadol. So the whole first part of the Parsha is about the Kedusha of Kohanim. And therefore, he says, it's about the Kedusha of people, about the way Kedusha is infused in people. V'afta ikara parsha hu odos kedushas hakohanim, even though it's really specifically about a very minute sect of the Jewish people known as the Kohanim, aval ikar v'yisoda kedusha hu benefesh Yisrael kidichtiv v'kidashto. But really, the kedusha of Kohanim is dependent upon, and its source is the Kedushas Yisrael. It's the total Kedusha of the Jewish people. So that this piece of the Parsha, although it deals specifically with the Kedusha of one subset of people known as Kohanim, really it deals with the Kedusha of people, of the Jewish people in general. Shatzivuhu l'chol Yisrael l'kadesh es haKohen. It's up to the entirety of the Jewish people to sanctify the Kohen with their role and with their position in the Jewish people. Ki kedushas kahuna tluya hi b'kedushas Yisrael. It's dependent one upon the next. And therefore, in describing that, really what the Torah is telling us is if you think about Kadoshim Tiyu of the last Parsha, one way that it's manifested in the world, one way we could see it in the world, one way we could grab hold of it in the world and aspire to it in the world, and bring it into the world, is through the realm of human beings, through the realm of the Jewish people, through the realm perhaps sometimes of the Kohanim in specific. Ukdusha hashniya b'seder haparsha, ukdushas hazmanim shana. The second piece of the parsha is, of course, the Moadim, the holidays that are described in the parsha, which we read very, very beautifully about the various festivals of Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, which obviously represent Kedusha, not in people, but in time. The idea of Shana. Medrash Rabbah, the Medrash says, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Miskansim malachi hasharis lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, lomar, emasai Rosh Hashanah, emasai Yom HaKippurim, when the angels come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and they're trying to plan out their calendar, looking forward into the year, and they say, when is Rosh Hashanah going to be? When is Yom Kippur going to be? HaKadosh Baruch Hu omer lahem, neilech etzel beis din shel mata. Hashem says, I don't know. Go check with the Beis Din Shel Mata. Go check with the Jewish people. Ad shalona says uma shali moadei Hashem. Bikan va'elech asher tikru otam. Pasuk says, Ela moadei Hashem mikrai kodesh asher tikru otam b'moadam. These are the holidays of God that you should declare. So what does it mean that they're the holidays of God and that you, the Jewish people, should declare them? The Medrash says, it's as if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling the angels that until the Jewish people was created, they were moadei Hashem. They were the holidays of Hashem. However, after the Jewish people was created, Asher Tikro Otam, they're the ones that you, the Jewish people, will declare you have total sovereignty over the Kedusha of these holidays. One of the famous splits in Chazal between Shabbos and Yantif is that Shabbos is Kedusha Kidsha V'Kaima. The Kedusha of Shabbos is something that God established from the beginning of the world. It doesn't move and it doesn't depend upon us. But the Kedusha of the Moadim, the Kedusha of the holidays, is dependent upon us. It's dependent upon the Jewish people to declare when the new months are, when the calendar is, and therefore sanctify time and therefore establish the holidays that come along with that time. Harei dikdushas hazmanim tluyai bikdushas Yisrael. The sanctity of time is dependent upon the sanctity of the Jewish people. Ukmo shebiaru beGemara, just like it's explained in Gemara in Brachos, esium habracha mikadish Yisrael v'hazmanim. Just like Chazal explained the bracha that ends the middle section of the Amida on a Yontif, mikadish Yisrael v'hazmanim. What it means is Yisrael dekadshinhu lizmanim. God sanctifies the Jewish people, who in turn sanctify the zmanim, who in turn sanctify time. That's how the holidays come to be known as holy times, because of the holiness of the Jewish people. Just like the Medrash explains that the Jewish people declare holiness in time. You, the Jewish people, says the Medrash, Torah's Kohanim, have the ability to create Moadim, to create the holidays of Hashem. If not for you, they won't be holy. They won't be sanctified. So the first part of Emor is Kedusha Sanefesh. It's Kedusha of people, Kedusha of the Jewish people. The second piece of Parshas Emor is Kedusha in time, represented by the Moadim, and the two are, of course, connected because it's the Kedusha of the Jewish people that leads to the Kedusha of the Moadim. By the way, the next small piece of the Parsha, which we won't focus on right now, the Gedalyahu has a whole I won't say a footnote about it because it's in the main text of his essay, but a whole tangent about this is, of course, the section of Kiddush Hashem. V'nikdashti b'toch b'nei Yisrael, that you should sanctify my name, and I should be sanctified amongst the Jewish people. Again, reinforcing this notion that the Jewish people have the ability to sanctify the world and to sanctify God's name. That comes through people and in the realm of time. The last piece of the parsha, which comes after that, is the third component of the Olam Shana V'Nefesh triumvirate. It's the component of space. In the end of the parsha, the Torah speaks about various components of the Mishkan that have to be in place. And therefore it represents the space of the Mishkan, which is a space of holiness. Besofa Parsha, Medaber B'Kedushas Hamakom, Olam, talks about the Kedusha of space. Parshas Haneros, Parshas Lechem Hapanim, talks about how to light the candles of the menorah, and how to arrange the Lechem Hapanim on the Shulchan. Although we know really about these mitzvos earlier on in Parshas Tetzaveh, we have the commands for these mitzvahs earlier on. They're mentioned specifically now in order to tie into the two other pieces of Parshas Emor. Now that you have Kedushas HaNefesh, now that you have Kedushas HaZman, you also have Kedushas Makom, and they have to go together, and therefore they're all included in this Parsha. Of course, the Parsha really ends not with Kedushas Makom of the Mishkan only, but Kedushas Makom of the Machane, of the entire encampment of the Jewish people, because after the mention of the Neros and the Lechem Hapanim, we learn about the Mekalel, who has to be the one who curses, blasphemes God's name, who has to be punished, but also has to be removed from the Machane. Kedushas Machane Israeli Sha'achas Haita Shepir Kasov. The Hotzei es HaMekalel el michutz lamachaneh. The kedusha of the camp is declared through the commandment to take the Mekalel out of the Machaneh. Someone who represents the Chil Hashem doesn't belong in this space, because this is a space that breeds kedusha, that brings kedusha, that inspires kedusha within it. Shemachane Yisrael kshu b'kedusha so eino sovel shum davara. When the Jewish people's encampment is at the highest level of kedusha, it can't bear anything that is ra, anything that is evil. Ukmo guf barishu doches hapsolos lachutz, just like a human body rejects things like disease, which it fights off, and bacteria and infections, things that don't belong in our bodies get pushed out. So too in the body of the space of the Jewish people, known as the Machaneh, things get pushed out which don't belong in the realm of Kedusha. So in the totality of Parshas Emor, you see a string of Olam Shana V'Nefesh, of space, of time, and of human beings, all of whom together, in one complicated web and one nexus, are able to bring Kedusha into the world. And really, the Mishkan, which it ends with, is kind of the epitome of all three, because it's Kedusha in space. The main time it's used, of course, is in the Shalosh Regalim, which is Kedusha in time, the Moadim, and the main people who use it are, of course, the Kohanim and the Jewish people as a whole, representing Kedusha in human beings, in the Nefesh. Therefore, Emor is the total picture of how Kedusha is brought into the world through these three avenues. And I think through this small piece in Gedalyahu, we gain an insight into the connection of Kedoshim and Emor, into the string of events within Emor itself, which on the surface don't have anything to do with one another. And lastly, give us a hint as to how we as human beings can both be influenced by time and space, and how we can utilize time and space to help us in our mission of manifesting Kedusha into the world. As we come close to Shabbos, think about these concepts and how Shabbos is also the nexus of Kedusha in time, in space, and in the Jewish people. And hopefully you'll be able to mull that over the course of Shabbos, not only intellectually, but also emotionally, and also hopefully in the realm of Maaseh, in terms of actually bringing about higher levels of Kedusha this Shabbos than the week that preceded it, hopefully leading to greater Kedusha in the weeks to come as well. Shabbat Shalom.